Well, it's been a while since I've done this, but what the heck? Thought I would phase this feature back in and do so on a whenever I feel like it basis. Just so how you could have something when I'm in between working on bigger projects, and especially since some also tend to take a bit more work than anticipated. Still, hell, trailer talk on new and upcoming releases that I'm looking forward to. Who, with Fantastic Four First Steps being the last one I'll be seeing theatrically for the summer, barring maybe a scene Superman, and I go with my father, and if I can find a theater showing it, maybe Elio with him. Um, these will be coming up again soon. Just know for now that I'm glad that once again the Warner says a hit, and I still maintain that $130 million worldwide in a month is not a complete bomb, but definitely is underperforming. Still, let's go with what's coming up in release orders to keep things as objective as I can. So let's get started. First off, we have Tron Ares coming out October 10th, which is why I chose to wear my NCOM shirt today, and I'll be likely wearing it when the actual movie opens then. The third film, and what I suppose now the trilogy, which is going to be directed by Joachim Ronning, with following tradition of synth pioneer Wendy Carlos in the first film and Daft Punk in the second. The soundtrack will be done by Nine Inch Nails. Trent Reznor and Atticus Ross, in particular, have done a lot of work in both more prestigious affairs as well as big budget temples, so it's a natural move, and they're also directly confronting the whole ethical landmines means that the ever encroaching nature of AI has in our lives. I mean, especially I'm liking how they're going to be potentially handling Flynn the Elder, especially even though it's very different from what the initial plan was to do, like follow up the last movie. A lot of ideas are being used from that initial pitch, even if not the way we expected. I mean, they're like working titles for this one, including like Tron Ascension. My go-to one was Tron Lives personally, and there's also yet more people of the Dillingers. There's especially. I figured this would happen after the passing of Dear Warner, that they would find a way to retire Dillinger the Elder as well. Also, I still think it's one of the most fascinating concepts to me about this verse that the programs and the users who created them. Um, and it's not going to be the only a, a pop culture I'm going to be anticipating this October, to say the least. Case in point, Mortal Kombat 2. Yes, 30 years since the first film actually proved you could make a video game adaptation that's actually somewhat enjoyable. Sure, no fatalities, but it was a decent martial arts tournament film at its core, some fantasy elements. Basically, think Enter the Dragon with more fantasy aspects to it, never far off the mark. It's even right down to the tournament actually being a trap, and they had to figuratively literally fight their way out. And naturally, given how the reboot in 2021 was one of the most successful dual releases of Project Popcorn by their own admission, it's only natural that the sequel is coming out, especially since Warners are definitely going all in on more video game adaptations after Minecraft was such a big hit, being second to only Super Mario is the biggest video game adaptation ever. And I'm liking how not only they're bringing back the cast and director from the previous film, but also how my two most wanted characters are back, where we have Johnny Cage played by Carl Urban, who is definitely capturing his Game Carnage ego nicely, and even some qualities that granting him some level of sympathy, like the fact that he has been a bit past his peak as living out of his car, kind of like a riff on how a lot of his influences had a rough patch at their initial peak, but have now become elder statesmen of the action genre, like with Schwarzenegger, Stallone, and JCVD, among many others. And, of course, following the game tradition, Shao Kahn takes center stage as the bad guy, then things are getting real, so to speak. And yes, looks like he's going to be much closer to how he's portrayed in the games. And also, it makes sense that they're bringing back characters who died in the last movie as revenants, which is also in keeping with source material. I mean, granted, they do take some pragmatic changes, but using like graphic novel adaptations as a frame of reference, I'm okay if you change in a way that makes logical sense story you're trying to tell. I do not know what's going to happen to Louis Tan's character, Cole, especially since the last movie suggested he's basically this continuity equivalent of Shirai Ryu. But I guess we'll find out whenever it comes out on October 24th. I'll try to make sure to have my MK shirt washed and ready for that too. Now it's running someplace. Yes, and turning your gaze to 2026, it's not too early to start thinking about that, especially since I might be moving then, and not this year's initially planned. We have the long-existing animated reboot of The Cat in the Hat, and given the infamy of the 2003 live-action film, I'm actually very open to the idea of doing it as a cartoon instead, which I think is actually much better suited to who the source material. I think Seuss by way of Spider-Verse definitely has a lot more going for it than the live-action adaptations have, and trust me, when I do talk about past adaptations, I'm going to be going after that one first, like taking out the cat box, gotta get out of the way. I am definitely liking the color palette, especially, and as well as Bill Hader as a voice of the cat, given how he's been quite amusing on Saturday Night Live and other movies he's been in, both live action and animated. And it helps that the film finally coming out and getting made is definitely a testament to the character's enduring legacy on young and old alike. I actually really like that other TV special I used to have from the 70s. He's with Chuck Jones, I believe, did that like the same way he did with The Grinch, and I definitely can say this definitely has another sense that this is like a decade of do-overs, and also since enough time has passed that audiences are ready for give you another chance, And even though these new children are unique to this adaptation, they functionally fill the same roles that Sally and Conrad did in the original book and previous adaptations, being the cats at stopping by for a visit, and when the single mother is out at work, and hilarity ensues. If all else fails, I can't imagine it being worse than the OV version. Like, some people say it's as bad as you remember, others say it really isn't. To borrow on honest trailers, it's definitely the worst movie I've seen 30 times. Alright, so last but definitely not least, March 6th of next year, I will say that I don't hate Hoppers, honestly. In fact, I would say that of all the film home memes that sum up my feelings on the matter, initially is like the one with Django Unchained. You have my curiosity, now you have my attention. Granted, I'm not a huge fan of the song that's playing in there. I always hit skip whenever it came up when I was younger. But everything else, I'm intrigued by it. First it starts out like some rebellious college kid that's breaking into like a research laboratory in an attempt to free what's going on inside. But then it takes a left turn when they're actually 3D printing a vessel to put your mind in that happens to be like a woodland animal, and despite the scientist's suggestions otherwise, it is kind of like a woodland critter version of Avatar. I'm all sold. It can work for giant blue people, it can work for woodland creatures. I had to think of what my persona would be in the scenario, but it's delightfully bonkers enough for me to already say it's got my prospective $10, I mean, not counting any potential surcharge of inflation, I mean, and given how we're getting this and the next Toy Story probably the same year, it's safe to say that I think the studio has definitely mastered the whole one for them, one for me approach to filmmaking. I mean, which I all supported. Like, you would, to me, that's like the basic nature of how the market is supposed to work as intended, where you take the money you'd make on your Toy Stories and your outs, and say nothing of all those Cars films and their merch. Like, they even brought back the Lightning McQueen Crocs, Oxwell things, and you would invest it into who experimental films about children meeting space aliens and people putting their mind into the body of a woodland animal. I don't know about them downplaying the eco themes in there at all. I mean, I still definitely notice what they were laying down, at least as someone who's actively looking for it. Even though I'm not a huge fan of Daniel Jones' television work, I'm open to see what he can bring to the table with this movie. So anyway, that'll be all for now, and I will definitely see you tomorrow with another video celebrating the silver anniversary of one of the many movies that came out of 2000. I guess I had to wait and see which one. So that'll be all for now. Take care.